4 years on, the 2025-26 Hawks could surpass the 2021-22 ECF team. Imagine a team that not only learns from its past, but also evolves into something even greater. That's the potential of the Atlanta Hawks as we look ahead to the 2025-26 season. While the 2014-15 squad is often hailed as the pinnacle of Hawks history, it was the 2020-21 team that came tantalizingly close to reaching the NBA Finals. To jog your memory, Trae Young and his teammates triumphed over the New York Knicks and the Philadelphia 76ers, ultimately pushing the Milwaukee Bucks, who would go on to become the NBA champions, to a thrilling 6-game series in the Eastern Conference Finals. Fast forward to last season, and it seemed almost absurd to think that the Hawks could match the caliber of the 2020-21 roster. With the departure of DeJounte Murray and the addition of Dyson Daniels and Larry Nance, many anticipated a decline. There was a glimmer of hope if Jalen Johnson could maintain his health, but it quickly became evident that the previous season was more of a reset for the Hawks. As expected, they fought hard but ultimately fell short, losing to the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament after Johnson's injury derailed their momentum. This year, however, the landscape has shifted dramatically. The Hawks have made significant moves, including trading for Kristaps Porzingis from the Celtics and drafting Asa Newell, a power forward from Georgia. They also made headlines with 2 major free agent signings, Nickeil Alexander-Walker from the Timberwolves, who joined on a 4-year, $62 million deal, and Luke Kennard, who was signed for 1 year at $11 million. Clearly, the Hawks are positioning themselves to be a formidable force in the Eastern Conference next season. But how does this new lineup stack up against the 2020-21 team that earned such high praise? Back in October 2020, the Hawks were not considered serious contenders in the Eastern Conference. Following the Lakers' championship win, Michael Shapiro from Sports Illustrated remarked on the Hawks' potential, stating, "The Hawks have a fair amount of talent after back-to-back lottery appearances, but this team isn't going anywhere if they remain an absolute disaster on the defensive end. Perhaps Clint Capella can turn the tide." The former Rockets center isn't exactly an all-defense honoree, but he's a legitimate 7'0" with plenty of shot-blocking prowess. Trae Young should feast in the pick and roll alongside Capella, and the defense should trend closer to number 20 than the league's worst mark. If Capella is healthy, he could make a major impact in year 3 of the Lloyd Pierce era. Fast forward to today, and Bleacher Report's Andy Bailey recently ranked the 2025-26 Hawks as the 13th best team in the NBA. He noted, if there was a "we thought they would be better" award, the Atlanta Hawks would be in the hunt just about every year, so we have to approach this slide with a bit of caution. They've made that difficult, though, by adding Kristaps Porzingis and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to a team that already has Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, and Dyson Daniels, as well as a possible developmental leap on the way for Zachary Researcher. The ideal roster around Young would likely include loads of length, defense, and shooting, and this one now has it. In an injury-weakened East, Atlanta should push for a top 6 finish, but ultimately, their success or failure may come down to the health of Johnson. For moments of last season, he looked poised to overtake Young as the team's best player, but a shoulder injury limited him to 36 appearances. For context, the 2020-21 Hawks finished with a record of 41-31, placing 5th in the Eastern Conference. Given that the Hawks managed to win 40 games last season, the 2025-26 team will need to surpass the 41-win mark to demonstrate progress. While they should aim for a better regular season record than the 2020-21 squad, it's worth noting that the 2020-21 season had fewer games than the standard 82-game schedule. Therefore, It would be more realistic to view the 2020-21 team as equivalent to a 45-win squad. Achieving 45 wins should not be an unrealistic target for the 2025-26 Hawks. Analyzing strengths, identifying the key factors that contributed to the success of the 2020-21 Hawks can be challenging, but several statistical categories highlight their strengths. Despite their recent reputation, the 2020-21 Hawks were a competent defensive unit. They excelled at closing out on shooters, ranking third in three-point percentage allowed, and finished ninth in defensive rebounding and 12th in opponent points per game during the regular season. These defensive metrics largely held up in the playoffs, where they ranked fifth in opponent three-point percentage and sixth in defensive rebounding. A significant factor in their defensive success was Clint Capella, who served as a dominant rim protector. Many believed he deserved the spot on the all-defense team that year due to his ability to anchor a defense that lacked star defensive talent. Chris Dunn provided solid backcourt defense, while DeAndre Hunter and Cam Reddish had their moments on both ends of the floor, and John Collins developed into a respectable defender. However, Capella often found himself without much support. On the offensive side, the Hawks truly shined. Following the dismissal of Lloyd Pierce and the promotion of Nate McMillan, the Hawks emerged as one of the hottest teams post-All-Star break, largely due to their offensive improvements. They ranked 17th in points per game before the break, but surged to 9th afterward, thanks to Bogdan Bogdanović and Kevin Huerter's exceptional three-point shooting, ranking 5th in team three-point percentage. John Collins became a key play finisher, enhancing his efficiency and solidifying his role in the Hawks' offensive scheme. Although their playoff performance was not as dominant, it was evident that they had transformed into a more offensively focused team. Looking ahead, the 2025-26 Hawks have the potential to excel on both ends of the court. While Capella's durability set him apart from Porzingis, there is no doubt that the Latvian center can anchor a defense just as effectively. Porzingis has been recognized as one of the top rim protectors in the NBA for several seasons and is a more proven defender compared to Capella's status in 2020-21. Additionally, unlike in 2020-21, Porzingis will not be the sole defensive anchor. Both Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker are among the league's elite on-ball defenders and perimeter stoppers. Daniels led the NBA in steals last season, while Alexander-Walker excels at navigating ball screens, making him a formidable defender. Furthermore, while Onyeka Okongwu may not match Porzingis in terms of defensive impact, he brings valuable skills to the roster. Although rim protection is not his forte, he can effectively guard on the perimeter. Zachary Riesacher showed glimpses of being a solid defender in his rookie year, but he struggled to adapt to the physicality of the NBA. However, with noticeable strength gains this offseason, he appears more prepared to handle the demands of guarding opposing wings in his second year. Offensive firepower. Offensively, the Hawks boast a wealth of capable shooters who can ignite the offense with their hot streaks. Players like Na, Riesacher, and Porzingis are all expected to be volume shooters who can effectively space the floor. However, the standout in this category is undoubtedly Luke Kennard. Few players in the league can match his shooting prowess. He has maintained a three-point shooting percentage above 40% for 5 consecutive seasons. His shooting volume is impressive, ranking in the 90th percentile for three-point frequency among all guards. And he is adept at making difficult shots. Last season, he achieved an astonishing 52% shooting percentage on corner threes, finishing in the 80th percentile for those attempts. Integrating Riesacher and Kennard into roles previously held by Bogdan Bogdanović and Kevin Huerter makes perfect sense, especially considering that Porzingis is a superior deep shooter compared to John Collins. Shaha identifying weaknesses. One of the significant challenges the 2020-21 Hawks faced was their inability to compete against larger rosters. In their series against the Bucks, they were out-rounded 46.3-41 and struggled to contend with the size of Milwaukee's lineup. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez, and Bobby Portis all had standout performances, and while Capella did his best to mitigate the damage, Collins struggled to hold his ground against the Bucks' physicality. Chris Middleton also had a field day against the Hawks, highlighted by a 38-point game in Game 3 and a 32-point performance in Game 6. The most significant blow to the Hawks, however, was Trae Young's injury, which severely hampered their offensive capabilities. Young was the linchpin of their offensive strategy, and when he was sidelined, the team lacked a reliable player who could step up, create their own shot, and keep the team afloat. These challenges remain relevant for the 2025-26 Hawks, but they are now better equipped to address them. With 5 players, Porzingis, Okongwu, Johnson, Risacher, and Daniels, standing 6 feet or taller, they have the size and versatility to compete. Porzingis possesses the ability to create his own shot, whether through post-ups or shooting over smaller defenders. However, the key to overcoming defenses that focus on stopping Young will likely rest on Johnson's shoulders. He has shown flashes of being capable of creating his own offense, and this season, the expectation is for him to take a significant leap forward. Unlike the 2020-21 Hawks, this team has players who are expected to contribute offensively when Young is not on the court. There will likely be stretches where the team faces injuries, and they will need to find ways to adapt given the current roster construction. In conclusion, while it is clear that the 2025-26 Hawks have the potential to be a significantly improved roster compared to the 2020-21 team, the onus is on them to transform that potential into reality. Can they make a dark horse run to represent the Eastern Conference in the 2026 Finals? What are your thoughts on their chances? Share your opinions in the comments.